What's good, everybody? All right, the NFL Combine is in the books, and day three featured the quarterbacks, the running backs, and the receivers. But I want to break down the quarterbacks, right? It's obviously a huge need for us going into the 2024 season. So let's break down the quarterbacks that ended up throwing in the combine this past weekend. So before we get into it, if you could please like this video, subscribe, turn on the notifications. I'm doing my next giveaway at 2,500 subscribers. So if you want to be included in that, hit that subscribe button. So let's kind of get into this. Obviously, the top three quarterbacks, they didn't throw. They're going to wait for their pro day to show off their arms. Drake May actually announced, I think it was the day before day three of the combine, that he wasn't going to throw. So I think we're going to see more and more this happening as years go on, where quarterbacks are going to opt to throw at their pro days instead of the combine because, and I don't fault them for it. You know, you're going to be throwing to receivers that you're comfortable with, guys that you want to throw to. So if you want to showcase your arm, or maybe show that you have better accuracy than what people are kind of predicting, then that's your best way to do it. So I foresee it happening a little bit more as time goes on. But no, let me know in the comments down below, who is your favorite quarterback out of those three? You got Caleb Williams, you got Drake May, you got Jaden Daniels. Obviously, Jaden Daniels has the link to Antonio Pierce. There's a chance that he might be the one that we're going to try to target, possibly at that number three spot where the Patriots sit. But let me know in the comments down below, if you could target one, which one would you want to go after? And so let's kind of take a look at the quarterbacks that did throw. And, we'll start off. Number one is Michael Penix Jr. One of the best things about him is that his medical records came back um, positive, or, his medical records came back good, so he passed his medical, which is great. That's obviously one of the biggest things with Michael Penix Jr. That was the question mark, right? Everybody wanted to make sure that he was healthy because of his injury history. And so he passed his medical, which is great. And I'm gonna tell you right now, he looked really good at the combine. He looks like a natural thrower of the ball. He made every throw. The deep balls look good. I mean, he just looked comfortable. And so I definitely think if you take him, passing his medical and the way that he looked in the combine, and then just his body of work at Washington last year, I think he did a really good job at being, without question, probably that number four, number five quarterback on the list going into this year's draft. Bo Nix, I think Bo Nix actually kind of hurt himself. One of the question marks on Bo Nix is whether or not he's got an arm to really play in the league. And I think that based on what I saw, he was fairly inaccurate at times during in the combine, which isn't good because you're throwing on air. I understand you may not be familiar with all the receivers, but some of the throws that he had were pretty off. And it looked like he was struggling to make some of those deep throws, those deep out routes. You can see just in his body that he was really putting as much as he possibly could into those throws, where other quarterbacks, it looked like it was pretty natural. And so I think that he might have knocked himself down a little bit in the rankings going into the 2024 draft. So, let me know. Let me know if you're still high on Bo Nix, if you were before the combine. Now, JJ McCarthy, I think, had a solid combine. He did a really good job of basically making every throw, looking very natural at throwing that football, and he looked comfortable. The deep ball. Everybody, they love showing the receivers just running deep and the quarterback's throwing a deep ball. He threw an okay deep ball. It wasn't extremely impressive, but overall, I think he did a really good job. And I think he kind of upped his draft stock. I think that those teams like the Vikings, the the Vikings, the Denver Broncos, and now there's a lot of talks. There's a lot of talks on the Giants moving on from Daniel Jones and really looking at a quarterback. And so JJ McCarthy might have helped himself out a little bit. I mean, he might jump up into the first half of the first round. And then you got Spencer Radler. I think Spencer Radler's kind of been the dark horse. I think he did a really good job at the combine. I don't know if he necessarily helped himself or hurt himself. He might have. You never know. He might have jumped up in front of Bo Nix, to be dead honest with you, because a lot of people were starting to become a little bit higher on Spencer Radler. He might have jumped Bo Nix based on what how Bo Nix produced in the combine. So, and not only the combine, Bo Nix didn't really look good in the Senior Bowl as well. So, let me know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts on Spencer Radler? If we can't jump up and get one of those top three guys, or we end up taking an offensive lineman or a D tackle with our first pick. What do you think about Spencer Rattler? Possibly getting him, in the second round. Let me know in the comments down below. And then next we'll look at Joe Milton. This is a perfect example as to why I take nothing from the combine for the most part. I take bits and pieces here, but 90% of my evaluation of the player is game film, what happens in between those white lines. But this is one of the things that I don't like about the combine is that when Joe Milton threw that 65, 70 yarder downfield, social media went nuts. People started posting it on social media. Next thing you know, everybody's like, oh, we need to get this guy in the second round. Oh, we need, pick up an offensive lineman, pick up a D tackle, but let's get this guy in the second round or the third round. And I'm going to say right now, pump the brakes because I've looked at Joe Milton's game film. I watched about 3 games of him last year. And I'll tell you right now, he's pretty inaccurate. He has bad decision making, and I think he tries to take off and run way too much. I think that if he's still around, maybe in the sixth round, maybe I'll take a shot at him. But I am not high on him whatsoever. Um, you know, I would only say that if we were to trade for Justin Fields, which is a mobile quarterback, maybe you do pick up a Joe Milton, maybe in the sixth round, because if Justin Fields goes down, being a mobile quarterback, you'll get another mobile quarterback. But Joe Milton will sit behind Justin Fields, be able to learn, and maybe he won't even play the first season. So that's the only scenario that I would say I'd be okay with picking up Joe Milton. So, but let me know in the comments down below what you think about Joe Milton, and if you'd like to see us, pick him up kind of later in maybe day 3 in the NFL draft. So, um, let's go into the rest of the quarterbacks that I want to talk about. Sam Hart. I think Sam Hart really hurt himself. He was extremely inaccurate. I don't think he has the arm strength, and his throwing motion is very strange. I've seen a couple Notre Dame games from last year, and he's got a very strange release and just throwing motion. It's like Tim Tebow back in the day, right? Tim Tebow had a really bad throwing motion, and it's so hard to get yourself out of that habit when you've probably been throwing that way since you were a little kid. So I think he really hurt himself. So here's my sleeper. Okay. Here's my sleeper. This is the guy that I would love to see us target in the later rounds, and that's Devin Larry. He was not on my radar going into the combine, even into this offseason. He really wasn't on my radar. And when I saw him in the combine, he looked very comfortable. He threw the ball very well. He made all the throws. Again, not the strongest arm in the world. The deep ball wasn't fabulous, wasn't Joe Milton at all, but he looked very comfortable. He looked very fluid. And it doesn't surprise me because he was basically a 5th-year senior. And so one of the things I want to do is we're going to kind of go into kind of break him down, right? He played for Kentucky. He was a transfer. So he played at NC State prior to Kentucky. After Will Levis left Kentucky, he transferred over. He's 6'1", 215 pounds. And as of right now, he is projected as an undrafted free agent. So keep that in mind. He's projected as an undrafted free agent, and we have 3 7th-round draft picks. So keep that in mind. Um, let's look at his stats really quick. And this is where it kind of popped out to me. And I went back and saw his game film, and he looked very good. I really liked just his confidence when he played. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a starter. Remember, I'm thinking like 7th round ish. Look at his stats in 2021. And this is where it kind of popped out of me. In 2021, he completed 283 passes of 431 attempts, 65% completion rating, over 3,400 yards, 35 touchdowns, which was a school record. He played at NC State, 35 touchdowns, which is, again, a school record, and only 5 interceptions. Now, in 2022, he played at NC State, but he got hurt. He had a pectoral, he injured his pectoral muscle on his right side. So he wasn't able to play a full season. And then he transfers to Kentucky in 2023. Now, mind you, Kentucky, when I was kind of looking at the game film, looked like Kentucky really had a bad offensive line, and he really didn't have a lot of weapons to throw to. And he's learning a new system. So you're going to see kind of a drop in stats just overall. But again, he didn't have a lot of weapons to throw to. He, on 371 attempts, he completed 209 with a 56% completion rating, over 2,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Now, mind you, there were about 3 or 4 interceptions that were batted passes. There were tip balls by the receivers, or the D lineman got a hand on them. So you could take away, 3, maybe 4 interceptions off of that. Again, he transferred from NC State to Kentucky, so he's learning a new system, a bad offensive line when it comes to pass blocking, and he really didn't have a lot of weapons to throw to. So again, the way that I look at Devin Larry, I look at him as possibly let's pick him up in the seventh round, or if we don't draft him and we let him um, go outside of the draft, we better be ready to pick him up as soon as the draft is done. Pick him up, put him on the practice squad. But I could see him being kind of a viable backup in the league. He may not be a starter necessarily, but you got to remember, we're after June 1, we're going to have one quarterback on this roster, which is Aiden O'Connell. Jimmy G is going to get cut. Brian Hoyer is going to get cut. We're going to have one quarterback. We got to bring a couple quarterbacks in. I would like to see us bring in Devin Larry. So let me know your thoughts on that, guys. That kind of breaks down the quarterbacks and what I saw. Again, 90% of my evaluation is game film in between the lines, but based on what I saw in the combine, I like Devin Larry as a late round pickup and possibly a surprise backup of a good, viable backup as we go forward. So let me know your opinions on that. But guys, remember, hit that button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. I'm going to break down the running backs in my next video. So I hope to see you guys there. And I appreciate you all. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out.